It only seems like yesterday that Game of Thrones was premiering and giving us another season of things to theorize about, characters to worry over, and alliances to build and destroy. With the Season 7 finale airing last night, we are once again Game of Thrones-less until the final season next summer. And as we march towards the Great War to end Game of Thrones, we wanted to look back at Season 7 and remember all the amazing moments that have us wishing it were next summer. And yes, we will talk about whether or not Jon's sword is alive. But before we jump into the recap, swear an oath to us by hitting that subscribe button. We opened Season 7 with Walder Frey. Wait, didn't he bite it in the end of Season 6? That's right, it's Arya wearing his face poisoning all the remaining Freys who betrayed the Starks at the Red Wedding oh so long ago, making sure that the serving girls let everyone know
Winter came for House Frey.
We jump to Beyond the Wall with the ever-growing army of the dead on the march. Also beyond the wall, we have Bran Stark and Meera Reed arriving at Castle Black to be greeted by Jon's old friend Ed Tollett, who lets them through after hearing about the White Walkers. Now at Winterfell, there are tensions between Jon and Sansa about letting the houses who fought against them in the Battle of the Bastards rejoin the North. Jon also asks the free folk to go north and fortify the wall, leading Tormund to exclaim,
"Looks like we're the Night's Watch now."
At King's Landing, Cersei and Jaime fret about their lack of allies and surplus of enemies until the pirate lord Euron Greyjoy arrives with the whole Iron Fleet, offering their service in exchange for Cersei's hand. Cersei shuts him down, citing trust issues, to which Euron assures he will prove himself with
The surest way to a woman's heart is with a gift.
Meanwhile, at the Citadel, Sam Tarly finds his Maester training to be less than scholarly. The Archmaester refuses to let Sam have access to the restricted section of the library, so Sam takes matters into his own hands and steals some light reading. He learns a mountain-sized secret about Dragonstone and meets scaly Jorah Mormont along the way. Speaking of Dragonstone, Dany and her army have arrived in Westeros, only taken 7 years to get here. At Winterfell, Jon receives Dany's summons to Dragonstone. Sansa and Davos tell Jon not to go, but after a reminder about fire from Davos and a letter from Sam about the mountain of dragonglass beneath Dragonstone Keep, he heads off to meet with the Mother of Dragons. In the Riverlands, we have a reunion between Arya and Hot Pies, in which Hot Pies informs Arya that Jon is King of the North and Sansa is the Lady of Winterfell. Arya decides not to head to King's Landing and instead heads home. At King's Landing, Cersei appeals to the Lords of Westeros to take up arms against the Dragon Queen and the betrayers of the crown, including the Tyrells, naming former bannerman of House Tyrell Randall Tarly to the Warden of the South. After this meeting, Qyburn shows the Queen a weapon known as the Scorpion, which is powerful enough to pierce dragon bone. In the Narrow Sea, the Dornish and the Iron Islanders embark on their mission, only to be ambushed by Euron Greyjoy. Obara and Nymeria Sand are killed in the process, and Ellaria and Tyene Sand are taken prisoner alongside Yara Greyjoy, after Theon abandons her to save his own life. Back at Dragonstone, Jon and Davos arrive to meet Dany and are greeted by Missandei and Tyrion. Jon and Dany have a back and forth about allegiance and bending the knee, to which Jon refuses. Jon tries to explain the threat posed by the army of the dead, but his plea falls on deaf ears until news of the Dornish and the Iron Islanders ambush reaches Dany. In the Narrow Sea, the few remaining ships from Yara's fleet pull Theon from the water and question why he is still alive. Euron presents Ellaria and Tyene to Cersei as his gift of trust, citing that he caught the murderer of her daughter when no one else could. Cersei rewards this with agreeing to marry Euron when the war is won. Below the Red Keep, Cersei interrogates Ellaria and toys with her before poisoning Tyene the same way that Ellaria did to Cersei's daughter Marcella. Only being Cersei, she makes the poison worse by allowing it to go on for days, weeks, and potentially months, promising that Ellaria will watch her daughter rot. At Winterfell, Sansa is managing the day-to-day operations when Bran and Meera Reed arrive. The Stark siblings have a reunion, and Bran reveals to Sansa that he is the Three-Eyed Raven, which confuses her. At the Citadel, Eberroth declares that Jorah is cured and no grayscale remains. At Casterly Rock, the Unsullied have infiltrated and taken the castle, only to find that it is uncharacteristically empty and that there is no food in the keep. We jump to Highgarden to see the remaining Lannister forces have marched on the Tyrells and have taken the castle. Jaime has a talk with Olenna Tyrell and gives her a poison to drink, one which will have no pain and she will just pass away. Olenna thanks him for this kindness, revealing in her final moments that she poisoned Joffrey and that she wouldn't want to die the way he did. In her last few moments on screen, she urges Jaime to tell Cersei because
I wanted to know it was me.
at King's Landing, Cersei assures the Iron Bank that the Lannister debt will be paid in full within a fortnight, and they discuss the idea of an investment in the war to come. Back at Winterfell, Littlefinger gives Bran the dagger that was originally used in the attempt on his life many years ago. As Littlefinger tries to manipulate Bran, Bran tells Littlefinger,
Chaos is a ladder.
informing him that he knows what Littlefinger is up to, as Littlefinger said the same thing to Varys many years ago. Arya arrives at Winterfell and thwarts some very dumb guards. She goes to the catacombs where she is greeted by her sister Sansa. They talk about their father and how happy they are to see each other. At Dragonstone, Jon shows Dany the vaults of Dragonglass beneath the castle, as well as showing her paintings done by the Children of the Forest depicting them standing with the First Men against the army of the dead. Tyrion informs Dany that they have taken Casterly Rock, but that it was not the victory they were looking for as the Lannisters were not there. She asks Jon for counsel, where he informs her that if she kills innocents, she isn't something different.
You're just more of the same.
Meanwhile, on the Rose Road, Jaime, Randall Tarly, Bronn, and the Lannister forces have confirmed that the Highgarden Gold has reached King's Landing. Suddenly, everything falls silent, revealing what Dany has decided to do. The Dothraki ride in the Lannister forces, only to be aided by Dany herself riding a dragon. The Lannisters are devastated by the Dothraki, while Bronn wields the Scorpion against Dany and Drogon, wounding the Great Dragon but not killing it. Jaime, seeing a chance to end the Great War, rides towards Dany, only to stare down the throat of a fire-breathing Drogon. But before Jaime meets the Seven, Bronn saves his life. Still on the Rose Road, Bronn pulls Jaime from the water and tells him that he is done with this war and that he draws a line at dragons. Dany informs the living soldiers that they can fight for her or die. Randall and Dickon Tully won't serve and are roasted by Drogon. At Winterfell, Bran wargs into a raven and locates the Night King and sees that he is on the move to Eastwatch. On Dragonstone, Dany returns after the battle on the Rose Road and Drogon bows to Jon, allowing him to pet the dragon. Jon and Davos attend a council meeting where Dany discusses Bran's warnings about the Night King. Jon requests Dany's help again, and she refuses, citing that Cersei will never have a truce over something so far-fetched. Jon decides to go north of the wall and capture a white and bring it back to prove to Cersei that this is not a ruse. Now at Eastwatch, Jon, Davos, and Gendry arrive to find that Tormund has captured members of the Brotherhood Without Banners, to which Jon informs them that they are going north of the wall together to hunt down a white. Beyond the wall, the party encounters a snowstorm in which they are attacked by a White Walker bear. Thoros is savaged by the bear and is badly hurt. At Dragonstone, the same summons arrives for Dany and Tyrion suspects a trap. Meanwhile, beyond the wall, the party has found a squad of whites. They engage in combat, defeating them and taking one prisoner, only to be pursued by a horde of White Walkers and whites. Jon tells Gendry to head for Eastwatch and get a raven to Dany. Gendry arrives at Eastwatch and a raven is sent to Dany. As Jon's party is almost overwhelmed, Dany swoops in with her dragons, obliterating the army of the dead and saving the group. The Night King takes an ice spear and kills the dragon Viserion. Jon sees him loading up another spear and urges Dany to leave him behind. Jon stays and is overwhelmed and pulled into the lake. Dany escapes with everyone else back to Eastwatch. Although Jon somehow survives and bursts from the lake. And stop right here. This has been a big controversy for GOT fans, as there is a reflection on the hilt of Jon's sword which looks like it's alive. But we hate to burst your bubble, guys, but this is nothing more than a reflection and was confirmed by director Alan Taylor. Alright, time in. Jon is then saved by half-White Walker Benjen Stark. Jon rides for Eastwatch and meets up with Dany and sails back for Dragonstone, bending the knee to Dany for her selfless actions. At the Dragon Pit in King's Landing, there is a huge discussion about what to do, with no one agreeing on anything. This prompts them to show Cersei the captured white. Euron is terrified by the zombie soldier and decides to leave. Cersei, now knowing that they're up against, decides to help only if Jon stays in the north and does not fight in the war after the war against the dead. Jon refuses, as he has bent the knee to Dany, and the armistice falls apart. At Winterfell, Bran goes back into the memories of Westeros and sees Jon born and tells Sam that his name is not Jon Snow, but Aegon Targaryen and the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. At Winterfell, Sansa appears to be trying Arya for treason, only to name Littlefinger as the guilty party. Littlefinger begs for his life, but is cut down by Arya. At Eastwatch, Tormund and Beric are patrolling the wall when the army of the dead arrive with their newest acquisition, the resurrected Viserion, who is now a White Walker dragon. Viserion proceeds to pummel the wall with blue flame, destroying a huge portion of it, allowing the army of the dead into the north, signaling that the Great War has begun. And that is where Season 7 ends. The Great War is upon us with only 6 episodes left. What do you think will be the outcome of these conflicts? Who do you think will sit on the Iron Throne when it's all over? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to our channel, watch our other videos, and visit our website.